Eric Brace and Thomm Jutz. Again, welcome and thank you for being here. You are here as a duo today, but you both have your own stories, so it's a challenge for me to try and get both your stories in the next maybe 8 to 10 minutes. But if you don't mind, I'll start with you, Eric, real short.
Sure.
You were, when you still lived in Washington, you were a journalist with the Washington Post, but a music journalist.
Yes.
Yes. Can you tell us a bit about that stage of your life, how you got to do that, and how that transformed into making music yourself?
Sure. I was always interested in playing music, and I was always in bands and writing songs, and then I was just waiting tables while I was doing that. But on the side, I started writing little pieces for the Washington Post about music, and finally they offered me a job to write about the local music scene and nightlife and clubs, and that was a amazing job. I got to go out every night and see all the music I wanted and get paid for it. And then I decided it was time to try to make my own music professionally. And I had begun with my band called Last Train Home. And we had made a few records. And a booking agent said, "Do you want to go on the road? You have to quit your job." And so I said, "I'll quit my job."
Yeah,
even the best job possible. I wanted to go out on the road with Last Train Home.
Absolutely.
And that's when I started playing in Nashville.
Okay.
And that's when I met Peter Cooper, who is a journalist in Nashville, but also is a songwriter. And he said, "You should move here." So I moved there with my band. And then Peter and I started playing in a duo. And that was around 2007, about 10 years ago. Peter and I started playing together. And it's been an amazing ride. I live in Nashville now. I met Thomm a few years back. Peter and I made records in Tomm's studio, and now we all go on the road as a trio sometimes. Good thing he's not here. Too many people to talk to.
Yeah, we could fill 2 hours with just talking to you.
Oh, we can talk.
Then,
blah, blah,
then
blah.
people won't hear any more music.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, you already said you met Thomm at some point. Kind of the same question. You're from Germany originally. And you were watching a TV program that I know so well myself, because it might even be the case that I was watching that same program on that same very evening. And I watch that program quite often. I cannot remember that particular one, but you were watching It's Country Time with Freddie Quinn.
That's right. That's right. Actually, Eric did some research, and the show that I was watching must have been October of '81.
Yeah.
And I saw a famous American country singer called Bobby Bear on that TV show, and he sang a song called "Pour Me Another Tequila, Sheila, and Lay Down and Love Me Again." And when you're 11 years old, that has a strong message. And also, he played a song called that you all know called "Detroit City." And the next day, pretty much after that show, I walked over into my sister's room and borrowed her guitar and started playing guitar. I had been playing music since I was like 4 or 5 years old, but I always had like this idea I was going to play guitar. But that day it was just like, okay, let's just do it. And within a day or two, I learned the chords to Detroit City and decided I was going to, at some point, move to Nashville. And from there on, it was just a matter of, years in bands and going up and down the Autobahn and playing with blues bands, and later with some Texas singer-songwriters who had moved to Europe and started coming to Texas and started going to Nashville and hanging out there, and just had to wait till I got a green card, and then I moved there as soon as I could. Luckily, I married a lady who had lived in the States as a child for many years, so she always wanted to go back, and so it just worked out perfectly, and it's I haven't regretted a second.
So the living the dream is really
absolutely
that says it all.
Yeah, sure. But dreams sometimes can get a little scary too. So, and then living in Nashville can be a little daunting at times, especially when you move there cold. But it's an extremely if you want to do what I want to do, it's the only place to go, and it's been nothing but rewarding to be there and be a part of that community and write and play and reinvent myself and basically lead a creative life. That's all I ever wanted to do.
Great. And doing so, meeting all the greats, and at some point also meeting that very same Bobby Bear.
I did. I worked with Bobby Bear in the studio. He sang a song that actually Peter Cooper and I wrote for a record called the 1861 Project. It's a collection of 3 records about the American Civil War. And so Bear came in and sang on that, and we kind of became friends. And through singing on that record, he became very, very interested in the Civil War, and that's all he's been reading ever since. Every time I talk to him, it's like, "Have you read this book and this book and this book?" And he's just like eating up with it now. And he's a great guy. You don't always want to meet all of your heroes. Sometimes it can sort of be a little weird if you get to know your heroes a little too well. But with him, he's everything you want him to be. He's cool he's the coolest dude I've ever met.
I can vouch for that. I've met him too at a show in the Netherlands many years ago, and he's so down to earth and so real.
Yeah.
He's an awesome guy.
Chilled
Absolutely.
out.
Yeah. In your both separate ways, you have been working with all sorts of great personalities in the business. We have talked about Bobby Bear, but there are so many more. Eric, can you name a few people that you've worked with?
Sure. Well, it's one of the great things about moving to Nashville, because the musicians are there, and if they're alive, they still want to play music. And I remember one time we were recording something, Peter Cooper and I said, we need a guitar solo on this. It sounds real kind of Dwayne Eddy like really twangy. He said, "Let's just call Dwayne Eddy." So we called Dwayne Eddy, and he came into the studio and was wonderful. Now we're great friends with Dwayne Eddy and his wife Deed, and we recorded an album at Tom T. Hall's house, and it was a tribute to Tom T. Hall. But he has a recording studio, and he's one of the all-time greats. We worked with him.
Which was a Grammy-nominated album.
It was nominated for a Grammy. It's called "I Love Tom T. Hall's Songs of Fox Hollow." What it was a remake of his 1974 album for children about life on his farm. But we got all these people in there like Patty Griffin to sing on it, and Buddy Miller, and and Bobby Bear. And it's so amazing that you can call people up, and if they like the music and the creativity and the artistry and the people behind it, they'll generally say yes, and the greatest pedal steel player ever, Lloyd Green, is there in our studio a lot of the time, and it's just amazing.
Yeah. Some more names: Mike Aldridge.
Mike Aldridge, who is a transformative dobro player who I got to know living up in Washington, because he was in the bluegrass band, the Seldom Seen, and we made an album of bluegrass songs with him and with Jimmy Gaudreau, the great mandolin player. Mm-hmm. And then when I moved to Nashville, we made an album with Peter Cooper, Mike Aldridge, and Lloyd Green on steel. So it's dobro and pedal steel just moving gracefully around each other. And that's it was such a treat.
Wonderful. Yeah. A bit different style than the bluegrass dobro from Mike Aldridge. You've been working with Mary Gauthier.
I have. I've toured with her for 3 years, recorded with her. And actually, my first big tour with her was here in Holland.
Yeah.
And then we went all over Europe. We did Canada. I went to Australia with her. Did that for 3 years. And then I was offered a job to play guitar for Nancy Griffith, and I did that for 5 years. And then after that, I was kind of interested in doing more of my own thing and doing more in the studio. And my studio had grown a little bit, and Peter and Eric and I had met, and it was just it was. I really loved being on the road, being a sideman for people, but I also wanted to have a little bit more of a creative say over my career, and so I had written a lot and started getting some songs.
And being successful at that, because you have written bluegrass songs, a few that went to number one.
Yeah, I've had a good run in the bluegrass community. I write a lot of that. Bluegrass and bluegrass-related music is pretty much my favorite music in the world. It's pretty much all I listen to, and so I just started writing a lot of that kind of stuff. Got to know people within that community, and people started recording my songs, and quite a few of them went up the chart, and some went to number one, and I was nominated for Songwriter of the Year twice, and wrote a song. It's incredible. I mean, I'm super happy doing what I'm doing, and I don't I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but Mac Wiseman says it ain't bragging if you've done it. So
that's what I meant when I said introducing you in the beginning of the show. You have been working with many greats. We have heard quite a few names now, but we can certainly say you are among those greats yourself.
Well, I don't know. But
absolutely, yeah. I'm positive.
We'll work toward
Aren't they, folks? Yeah, there you go. There you go. The name Peter Cooper has been named a few times now. You tour as a trio too. Yeah, I still think, even though we only have 10 minutes, it's still a shame he's not here. Maybe next time you can come with the three of you.
He sends his regrets. He's very prominent at the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum, and he works so hard there, and he's putting on great exhibits there. So when you come to Nashville, please go to the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum, because what Peter's doing there and what the whole museum staff is doing is just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We'll be listening to some more music of you in a little while. I think we are having a great evening. That first song was amazing. I'm looking forward to the rest of this evening. Thank you so much again for being here and for sharing your stories and your music with us here in the Netherlands and with Countryland. And, well, let's enjoy this evening. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and Countryland, and Tim.